Hello, and welcome to another in the series of reviews I am attempting to record stuck in a home with a quarantining toddler who can't go to daycare. She is still asleep, and I'm in my jammies, as you can see. So, if you hear someone running in yelling "Papa" from that direction, that's what's going on. She just so let's hope I can get through this quickly. Benromach Distillery, and is one I've talked about before, particularly in the Springbank Substitutes video, link down there. It won the Springbank Substitutes contest pretty handily, actually. This is not only one of my favorite distilleries right now in Scotland, it's also the one of the very, very few that is capable of scratching the same kind of itch that Springbank does, which means I'm expecting this to disappear from the shelves or shoot up to, silly prices in short order. So I reviewed the 10-year-old, which I like very, very much. Today we're going to do the 15. I haven't tried the 15 in a couple of years. I tried it when it first came out, and I haven't really touched it since. So this was actually sadly on the closeout shelf, and I could not resist grabbing a bottle. So we're going to talk about it. This is an official bottling, bottled at 43%. So, I would love it if it had a little more oomph there, but better than 40 certainly. This one actually has a lot on it. I'm not seeing it right now, but I wrote it down. It's a date, not a lot. So it's October 29th, 2020. New packaging, as you can see. I am okay with the new packaging. I didn't like the old packaging either, so a move from mediocre packaging to other mediocre packaging isn't necessarily a step down. Anyway, what matters is what's in the bottle. Benromach 15-year-old Speyside single malt Scotch Whisky. Here we go. On the nose. Oh. Okay, a couple of different things going on here. So first of all, obviously this has a lot of sherry maturation, lots of first fill sherry maturation. So you're getting Oloroso and other, I'm guessing Oloroso mostly, but maybe some other oxidative style sherries in there. So the dried fruit is certainly coming through that kind of fruit and nuts plate meets industrial accent that you get, kind of character you get in that style of sherry, which I like very much. But beyond that, there's an incredible nuttiness going on here. It's not roasted nuts. These are like green nuts, like a mix of unroasted, like walnuts maybe, some pecans. Just a whole mix of different green nuts. What's funny in this is Benromach is it's peated, but it's not. It's very, very modestly peated, kind of Springbank levels of peat, that kind of thing, and it's perceptible in a 10-year-old. In this, you can find it if you go hunting around, but it's not really sort of an overt element in what you're getting. It's much more sort of in the background, in the corners, kind of providing texture and detail more so than providing a big overt peaty explosion-y thing. And I mean, it's mainland peat. This is not Isla peat. It's not with the sort of clean maritime character. It's also not Highland Park peat. This is that kind of barnyardy meets chocolate fudge peat. It's really the chocolate fudge part which is coming out. Some coal smoke. Stewed tea. Quite a lot of orange, actually. It's more like a curacao, liqueur, like a good one, Cointreau or something. White pepper, raisin, dried cherry, prunes A little hint of vanilla too, mixed in with the fruitiness. So there's a little bit of like an American California cab note in this. A little bit of cafe drink. Not a latte, more like something with a little more oomph, like a flat white. Shout out to Australia. Hints of like old cellar. Actually, mushrooms, like some mushrooms, almost root vegetables, mustard seeds, and it's certainly very oily. That's one of the hallmarks of Benromach that sets it apart from something like Springbank, for example. It's a very, very oily distillate. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of vegetable oilness on the nose. Yeah, this is. I do love how this. I love how the 10 smells, and I love how this smells. I mean, when Gordon MacPhail took over the distillery, I guess back in the late '90s, and kind of renovated it. The intention was, and I sort of bothered them about this in big tasting sessions, was to make like an old school representation of Speyside. So not nice, shiny, clean, fruity Speyside as you get now. We're talking the slightly grungy industrial Speyside of, maybe, well, of an earlier era, let's put it that way. And this really smells like something that could have been made, anytime in the last century. It's very, very old school. It's obvious. It's very heavily sherried, but it's not a malt that sort of leaps out of the glass and sort of attacks you. It's all about nuance with this. On the palate, yeah, okay, extremely good. Well, I mean, lots of the same qualities that make the 10-year-old so good. It's very Springbanky. It's got that unusual mix of elements and just heaviness. This is a very heavy malt. But it's got more creaminess to it than Springbank does. There's more oiliness. There's more kind of, oily mouthfeel. It's sherry, but it's like grungy sherry, like dirty sherry, like you accidentally sort of dropped your sherry in the dirt, and then before you started taking pulls from the bottle, that kind of thing. Dirt, green nuts, burned nuts, dried fruit, tea leaves, lots of different kinds of tea leaves, red and black, or green and black. So you've kind of smothered your nuts and your dried fruit in tea leaves and dirt. That's kind of what you're doing here. Coal smoke again, chocolate fudge again. Coconut oil, but refined, not fresh or virgin. This is refined stuff. A little bit oranginess again, like orange zest, black pepper, and that sort of mushroomy thing. Yeah, like musty mushrooms and homemade kimchi. Some what is that? Like teriyaki sauce, something like that, but like real teriyaki sauce, where they've really, really upped how serious the soy sauce is. It's dense. It's got a long, dry finish. Lots of coal smoke, lots of oak, but also lots of nuts, dried fruit. And somewhere in the background there is the peat, not overtly showing up, but just giving things this little nuance of fudginess and greenness and, I don't know, freshness. This is real good. And here I am without my eyedropper. I will be right back. that. Give that 4 drops. Yeah, this feels very, very old school, for lack of a better word. It feels like something. So lots of modern drinkers out there are going to poo-poo this because it's bottled at 43%. And fair enough. Y'all know this is better than 40, and even 1 or 2% makes a difference. But it kind of actually plays into the old schoolness of this. It's hard to think of who the audience for something like this is when it's not so overt. Part of me wants to think of, a very, very old guy who has tried, all the big, peaty, cast strength monsters out there and absolutely appreciates what they are, but also maybe finds them a bit too vulgar, too much trouble to enjoy in his chair next to a roaring fire with his very old, very large dog sitting right next to him. You want something that he can just pour into a glass and forget about. And to some extent, this makes me think of a character like that. It also reminds me that up until the 80s, I occasionally point this out because it was a bit shocking to me. Up until the 80s, if you went back and looked at a bottle of single malt or blended scotch or whatever, early bottles of Glenfiddich, right? The very first, not really, but likes to market itself as the very first single malt out there. Early bottles of Glenfiddich from the 60s, the legendary ones, those were bottled at 43%, because that was normal. That was just what you did. It wasn't until the 80s that when, I don't even know why, I guess maybe competition for vodka or something, everything had to be smooth. Everything dropped down to 40%, and we haven't really recovered since, save for those portions of the market which have demanded, strengths in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And other kinds of craft presentation. So just a reminder, it wasn't always like this. It was not everything was bottled at 40% throughout history. Anyways, I've talked long enough. I was delaying you to give this a chance to settle down with water. On the nose with water. Okay, gets more aromatic actually. It's sort of more fruity, smoky, almost not floral. This is more pipe smoke aromatics, like old. So your old man with the dog and the glass of scotch is maybe smoking a cased pipe tobacco while he's drinking, that kind of thing. It gets sweeter, gets more peppery with water. I keep expecting the peat to come out more, to play with water, but it really doesn't. It just the peat kind of just stays in the background with this, just playing things up, giving it a little green hints. Yeah, this is good. This is good. This actually improves, not immensely with water, but quite a bit. It likes water, which is very rare among 43%ers. On the palate. Oh. Yeah, this does like water. Becomes more barnyardy. Interesting. I'm not picking up peat as a sort of overt note still, but it does become more barnyardy. Like the horses and the pigs and the chickens are kind of coming out to play now. A lot more peppery too. There's kind of a little bit of a sour, almost a sour dairy note, like a dollop of whole milk Greek yogurt went into this. That's kind of coming through. This is real good. Yeah, and it's terrific. This is extremely good and very, very old school. Again, this feels like something Like, I could have bought this bottle at auction, something from the 1950s or the 1930s even. There's it just feels like a bit of an antique somehow, even more so than the old 10. But that is the problem with this, in terms of sort of objectively rating it. Is it's terrific. I don't think it's actually that much better than good old Benromach 10. I know it's different packaging, but same company. This has less sherry influence, but it's also fresher. You can also pick up the peat more. It's also almost half the price. So this has to be a little bit of a special. The 15 has to be a little bit of a special treat sort of thing. But I am glad I treated myself this time. What else to say? Well, I guess I have to talk about Springbank a little bit more, don't I? What was a little bit shocking to me when I first grabbed a bottle of this years and years ago was I actually liked it more than I liked the Springbank 15s that I tried. I still kind of, I haven't had a recent Springbank 15, but even still, I think, side by side between this and Springbank, I think I might go with this guy. The 15s from Springbank have just felt a little bit too austere, like I was fighting them too much. There's an austerity to this. There's a sort of, old school, make you work for it set of flavors going on. But, this is delicious and approachable, and it feels like it can age more. The current iteration of Benromach is, I think, not even 25 years right yet. And in my opinion, the distillates chase are not the old ones, the 40s and so forth. They're good, but what you're waiting on is like a 25 of the current setup. That's going to be a killer. It'll be expensive, but it'll be a killer. I'd also love for them to put out an 18, at maybe ideally at 40%, and ideally fully sherry matured in order to better go for Macallan's Throat, because someone needs to go for Macallan's Throat. Yep, that's all I got. Oh, did I score this yet? 89. 89 points out of 100, which is a hella good score for an official bottling, bottled at a mere 43%. 89 points. Again, only problem is this is pretty close. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, and cheers.